Hey, business storytellers, it's Christoph Trapp, another live stream. Yes, I know I can't not let a day go by without a live stream. Certainly, it's a lot of fun and learning a lot as I'm bringing on all these fantastic guests. And today's live stream, it's actually presented to you by Switcher Studio. SwitcherStudio.com, Trap 1, I think gets you the first month off, something like that. So take a look at that. But today's guests, we'll bring them on the screen here in a second, are two fantastic marketers out there, content marketers out there, and we're talking about how to do better live streams. And the guests today are Jeff, now I lost the name here, Jeff Kozlowski. He works for a marketing communications firm, and he's going to join us in a second. And then we also have Mark Gowith. He's actually with Switcher Studios. Gentlemen, how's it going today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's a wonderful Wednesday. Wonderful Wednesday.
Well, I mean, I'm just glad you guys can keep track of what day it actually is. So
Yeah, it's difficult sometimes.
it is difficult. So tell us about yourself. So Mark, why don't you start off, tell people a little bit about yourself and what your background is with live streaming and podcasting and all those different things.
Yeah, absolutely. As Christoph said, my name is Mark Goeth. I am the Vice President of Sales and Business Development at Switcher Studio. I've actually been involved with live streaming and live video for probably close to 6 years now. Actually, right as Meerkat came out is kind of when I really got involved, if any of you guys remember that platform. Have been involved in it as a content creator, as a company that kind of helped out with people that were branding their live streams. And now obviously with Switcher Studio, almost 3 years into my employment here at Switcher, helping to, essentially get the word out about Switcher, working with companies like Crosby Marketing, where Jeff is, obviously working with Christoph as well. And some of our content creators, but my primary function at the company is working with brands and large companies that might have a value-added solution to what we do to essentially kind of create reseller or channel sales type of opportunities, to just get Switcher into the hands of more people. So I don't have a ton of experience specifically with podcasting as a podcaster itself, but I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I do see video as a really kind of the next iteration of podcasting as a way for, podcasters to really, set themselves apart. So I'm excited to have this conversation and, excited to chat with both of you guys about this.
And what a blast to the past or from the past. Meerkat. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How long ago is that? That was probably what, 6 years ago, maybe something like that, or
I think it was was it 16 when
six?
that,
2016. So 4 years.
2016 when that came out. So I feel like it feels longer than that, in this live streaming,
Yeah.
space, like 1 year equals like 4 years. Live streaming years are like dog years, I think maybe, time definitely does fly. There's been a lot of different platforms that have come and gone, excited to be on the team at Switcher and work with people such as yourselves.
It came and went, but we're still live streaming despite the Meerkat coming on the scene and disappearing. Jeff, how about you?
I'm doing great. So a little bit about me. I work at a marketing agency in Annapolis, Maryland, called Crosby Marketing Communications. Been there a little over 4 years now, we have my bulk of my work has been with a Department of Defense program supporting military families, we kind of oversee as an agency, a lot of the communications efforts, this email, website, and of course social. And a few years ago, we discovered just what an effective tactic live streaming was, and it brought a level of authenticity that we know the military community appreciates, and and really, like I mentioned, it's a government DoD brand, and it really helped to put some faces on this government brand. So it has been a really effective tactic for us over the last few years. So we've been live streaming quite a bit, and actually since COVID really started, we've been going live almost daily. We run a daily series on their Facebook page, bringing sort of timely and relevant information to the military community through Facebook Live. But so before Crosby, I spent some time in the higher education world, and actually had a brief stint with the Washington football team doing video production. So heavy video production background, and been using live streaming quite a bit for the last few years.
But it was that recently with the Washington football team?
No, I think let's see, I was there for the 2011 season, so
I
it's been
think
quite some
you
time.
need to rephrase that name. Just kidding. Hey, I just happen to have the head laying around. Washington Redskins, been following them a long time. But anyway, hey guys, we did do a whole episode. Nick Westergaard and Leanne Edens, she was on the show, and they talked about how long it takes to rebrand and how they weren't going to get that done, the Washington football team, in 6 weeks. And we were correct. They didn't. So great story. That's awesome. Awesome to hear. And the daily, I mean, it's kind of interesting you mentioned daily, because I've been doing more and more daily shows as well. Just because, I started in I actually started in the live streaming when, I don't know if I used Meerkat too much, but when Periscope first came out. And that was a good experience. It worked relatively well. And then I kind of put that to the side, and I started doing more podcasting. And so the thing we're currently actually live streaming, and this will be a podcast version as well, business storytelling podcast, 20 channels on the podcast side now. But I realized, how can I maximize it more? So now we do the live stream, and we go to however many channels: Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn. And you mentioned Facebook. Is that like your favorite channel, or how do you decide where to send it?
I think, we landed on Facebook. I mean, mainly because that's kind of where the bulk of our audience is. We have started to dip our toes into LinkedIn Live. But, we kind of have, I think, just kind of the bulk of our target audience is on Facebook. And, the brand has just been growing that page for so long that's just kind of become our go-to. But, we actually just invested in software called Restream, that will allow us now, we're starting to think about how we can bring this to other channels. So now we have the technology that will allow us to simulcast across different social channels. So we're thinking in that direction, but that's kind of how we landed on Facebook.
And I don't know, Mark, what are your favorite channels?
Yeah, honestly, my favorite one right now is LinkedIn. For a lot of the work that I'm doing, and working with brands and businesses, they're looking for something that maybe doesn't have the noise that some of the other platforms have had, historically, especially right now, given our current climate, being election season and everything that's going on with that. Looking for a place where they can host that that video content and have it be, not compete with everything else that's out there. So we're seeing a lot of traction, specifically, in my conversations with people that are interested in using Switcher to go live to LinkedIn, to do some higher level video production stuff. So that's kind of where I've been spending a little bit more of my time lately. But I don't necessarily know that I have a favorite. I think it's all about, for you as a creator, and you as a company, it's, where's your community the most engaged? Where do you have the biggest following? Where can you reach the most, people? So, that's generally kind of the guidance that I've given to people over the years is, there's a lot of people that want to stream to every platform, and, that can definitely work. But subdividing your audience can also be, sometimes to your detriment if you're trying to go to too many places at one time. So, I think you have to just really understand where your audience is, where they live, where they're most engaged, and what's going to be best for you.
Yeah, and to piggyback a little bit off that, Mark, I will say, part of, I mentioned the DoD program, and an initiative within that is a program that helps military spouses find and retain employment through military life. And so when we have a dedicated LinkedIn page for that initiative, and once LinkedIn Live rolled out, we were like, oh, this is a perfect, let's test this out a little bit. With it being an employment initiative on LinkedIn, all of the content and all the conversation really lends itself to the platform. And we've been, testing that out for quite some time now. And it's interesting, in regards to the audience that, you can really tell we definitely have a smaller audience there than we do on Facebook. So we generally see less total views and impressions and all of that. But we definitely see much higher engagement rate. I think because, like you said, the audience just fits there for that particular initiative, and we've developed programming specific for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Don't you guys want to know my favorite? Come on. I thought this is a two-way street. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's what Mark was getting ready to say.
Yeah, that was my segue is, what's your favorite platform, Christoph?
I'm just too quick. So in reality, it is wherever I can get the most return on what I'm trying to do. And partially that does have to do with where are people tuning in, right? Where are people paying attention? I tried Twitch. I don't know why I would ever go to Twitch, but I tried it just because I can. And, I'm not a gamer, so not that interesting. But I did have 2 people watching one time, but probably not the highest priority. Twitter, Periscope, seems to still work fantastically. And what's interesting about live streams, too, is, I grew up in journalism, so a live stream is a live stream. We care about how many people are watching right now. But people are watching on the replay, which is amazing to me. I had one the other day. We did a show on video storytelling, right? Like not live, but like how do you put together a video story with a template, basically. And it had, 60 views live maybe on Twitter. And then it had another 300 on the replay. So it's, I think that's something that's very easy to overlook.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think a lot of people think about live video and they think about, what's happening right now. They look at the viewers and they're like, oh, I only have 5 people viewing. Well, this content lives on in perpetuity unless you go in and delete it, and I think that's, where a lot of people, I think they realize it, but maybe they don't think about it in the moment, and how effective that stuff is as it lives on, and people find it later, as they're perusing your profile or doing searches for different things. So I think the replay is a good thing to keep in mind, as you're thinking about your live video strategy.
Yeah, you got to remember, I think, right? Not everybody's just waiting for you to go live. So not everybody's going to be able to tune in during that 20 to 30 minutes, that you're live. And in the case of some of the updates we're doing daily, they're intended to be quick, to the point. Honestly, we chose to do them live because it's almost easier in some aspects to just do it live as opposed to pre-producing, recording, and all of that. You can't expect, so many viewers to tune in the 10 minutes that you're live, and it's so important to keep in mind the power of the replay and the fact that it lives on.
And it's like the SEO strategy, right? I grew up in news, certainly, and we covered news. This happened right now. But once you were done, like the next day, nobody cared about that news anymore, right? The news is done. But if we're producing something, like even this show, this show is not news, right? This is still relevant probably in a couple years. Fingers crossed, who knows what's going to happen in 2 years. But it's not a news show. And sometimes I listen to podcasts and they're newsy. And sometimes they're late, and they go, "Oh, we're so sorry, we're late." But their shelf life is so short, right? And as opposed to treating a live stream more like an SEO play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I know we talked about a little bit authenticity, but let's dive in a little bit why live video. And I think, Jeff, you mentioned that, right? You have to show your true self. So, for example, we're joking. People might go, well, this trap guy, what a jerk, and the other two are, at least they have hair or whatever, right? But we're looking, I mean, we are our authentic selves, right? It's very hard to hide everything. I mean, if you're a jerk, some of that will come through on a live stream, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. That's been, just the biggest key. I think people appreciate a real look behind a logo, and just kind of exactly like you get a feel for maybe a brand's personality and a behind the scenes type thing. And I think, people appreciate that. And in addition to that, I think live streaming also just kind of creates almost that one-on-one interaction element with real time comments and questions. People feel like they have an opportunity to connect right then and there, and that's been such a key for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one-on-one interaction and the face, as you mentioned, Jeff, is key for live video. One of the things that sticks out in my mind, when I think about one of the, I guess you want to say, the OGs to live streaming, from a brand perspective, I think about John Legere from T-Mobile, and back when Twitter, Periscope was just taking off. I live here in the Seattle area, so it's I followed him and some of the stuff that he would do, and he would literally go to a mall or a coffee shop, and he'd just fire up Periscope, and he'd be like, "Hey, the first two people to find me, I've got an iPhone for you," and like he would literally give them an iPhone, and this is the CEO of a huge major company, and when I started to think about like how brands and how companies can leverage live video and why live video, it's putting that face to the brand. It's giving that brand a human element, because a lot of times you think about the name of a company, and what they do, what they make, but you have no idea who they are behind the scenes. You don't know who their CEO is. You don't know what their corporate philanthropy is. Things like that really matter to people and makes your audience connect with you, on a brand level. So. I think that's one of the reasons that I'm so, drawn into live video is what it does for you, and just creating that face and creating, more brand awareness. And, you mentioned it, Christoph, but it's that authentic brand awareness. It's not like that forced stuff. It's not giving people what you think they want. It's kind of peeling back the onion a little bit.
You know what else I love about live stream? And we didn't even have this discussion before we started, but every once in a while, when somebody comes on or I'm working with somebody, they say, just make me look good, make me sound good. Do you know what I mean? Like make this piece, write it in the way I want to sound, not the way I do sound. And on here, like if you don't want it to be aired, don't say it because we're live. I can't edit it, right? Mm-hmm. And there's no time delay. I'm not beeping anything out or whatever. So it kind of forces people to be authentic, right? I mean, on the podcast, we can edit it. I hardly ever do. One time I did. It was kind of a really awkward conversation at one piece. And I was like, that did not come across when you don't see us. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of weird. So I cut it out and didn't make any difference, honestly. But for the most part, if you said it, it's already live. Like I literally can't take it back. I can't delete it. Well, I guess I could, but we're not going to on 5 channels, right? Plus people are already watching.
Yep. Yeah. And that's why I had mentioned earlier, we prefer now, we've done these daily updates long enough since March, to realize that it's just so much easier and things come across so much more natural if we have these folks just go, our guests come on live as opposed to pre-producing a video and doing a recording. Because when people know it's recorded, like you said, they kind of just that if I screw up, we can edit it later, or things tend to sound more scripted, and we find that going live almost forces people to be more conversational.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not a bad thing. So the other thing is, I have noticed this. I'm very cognizant, as you can see, my hair days, my getting ready for my hair it's very minimum effort, honestly. I have no hair, guys, if you can't see this on the podcast version. But I'm very cognizant of people who do spend time getting ready, right? So if I'm canceling on somebody, I really make an effort to do it very early, right? So if I'm saying we can't do video today, we have to do whatever. Like we had the inland hurricane come through here in Iowa. I had no internet. I mean, I couldn't do anything, right? Like I was using my data. But people get ready. And the other thing, I want to show you guys this. I'm not going to go all out on this. But let's say I did have a bad hair day, ha ha ha, and we really can't do video, but we still want to go live. This is a trick I learned. We can just do this, right? Mm-hmm. See what I mean? I can just put up, I mean, I got to get rid of the other stuff here. I'm not going to do all that for demonstration purposes. But we can just have that up, and we're just doing a live stream of audio. Nobody can hear us. So if you are scared to get started, put your logo up, put your picture up, put 2 pictures up. Put up your dog. Who cares? Put up something that's halfway relevant. Maybe not your dog, unless you're talking about veterinary kind of things. But, you don't have to even be on camera when you first get started. In fact, when I first started, I did Periscope, just the audio version, right? Because nobody else was doing that. And it was fantastic. Had hundreds of listens, and I never had to show my face. I never had to shave, because we all work at home now, right? We shave once a month. Our cars get 3 weeks to the gallon. But what else? I mean, is it scary, do you think, for people to participate in live video? Or like, how did you guys overcome it? I mean, you sound and look great. What's the secret to success?
I'm just a natural, Christoph. I mean, when you think about it, I think I was born to be on camera. No, I think for me, it just comes with time, and I've always been the type of person that's not afraid to do anything. I get asked a lot, are you nervous? I don't get nervous about anything, which I think is, sets me up perfectly for something like this, because, I can jump on, live video at the last minute and be ready to go. But I enjoy having conversations with people. And I think Jeff mentioned it, earlier when he was talking about what live video does, is gives you the ability to have a conversation. I love having a conversation with people. Like I genuinely am interested, in what other people do, what they believe, how they feel, what their passions are, and I think to jump on a live video, it's really easy to do something like that and get to know someone else, and ultimately allow the world to get to know them as well. Like there might be something that, that Jeff or Christoph, that one of you guys is really, really good at, but traditionally before live video, you wouldn't have had a platform, to be able to go on and allow someone to see you and hear what you're talking about. And I think that's, I kind of went a different direction with that. But, I think one of the things that has just helped me to overcome it is just doing it, just going on, doing a live stream, practicing on a private live stream. So just recording it, and getting comfortable with talking to, in this case, I'm talking to an iPad, so I've got my iPad on a tripod in front of me. I'm looking at both of you. But, it's just talking to your device, in this case, and having that real time conversation. So, I think if you treat it as a conversation and less about, oh, I'm live, and just like having that conversation, but, there's a camera rolling, I think that's kind of a good way to sort of ease your fears.
Yeah, and to expand on that a little bit, if you're talking about something you enjoy or passionate about, like me with live streaming, it makes it being on camera a little more comfortable, and because I feel kind of energized about the topic, and again have experience with it, and also just to piggyback on the conversational element again, we found that obviously going on by yourself, it is probably a little more intimidating, but when you have just other folks helping you to guide the conversation, if you go on with somebody else, if you're streaming with a guest, it is, I don't know, at least for me, it puts me a little more at ease, just to know that there are other experts or other folks on to help guide the conversation.
So my first few podcasts, it was just me talking, and I still do some of those, especially on my travel side. But having guests on, and especially when they understand, it's not just me interviewing them; it's us talking. I might share a story too. I'm not just a moderator. It's so much easier and it's so much more fun. So I want to be here's some authenticity for you guys. I'm always nervous. I'm nervous like even when I go speak. And my worst story, perhaps, when it comes to speaking, I was in Mumbai, and I'm at this huge stage, and I said, "Guys, where's the bathroom?" And they said, "It's back in the hotel where you just came from." And I'm like, "Are you kidding? I got to go all the way back there." So I'm always nervous, quite frankly. And here's the thing. It's okay to be uncomfortable. The first few times. So here's how I got hooked up with Switcher. I was on Jason Falt's show. And Jason made this big deal about how Christoph is in the green room and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that's kind of funny. I'm just standing here in my office. And, but I started using it and I started kind of following Jason's lead. And the first few times I was overwhelmed. But part of the reason was I was thinking of it as more like a TV production, right? So Mark, every time you were speaking, I would zoom into you, and then I would put up your lower third of your name and your URL and whatever else, right? And then when you were done talking, I'd go over to Jeff and I do the same thing, and I might have something spinning around. And like, how many times do I have to put up somebody's name? I mean, I made it harder than it had to be on myself, right? And then I still had to talk. And then I couldn't figure out how to turn my own voice off in my head. Not my head, in my earphones, in my head too, maybe. But so definitely, I think once you get started, it's easy. It gets easier and easier. And the other thing is, how do you guys feel about? Do you have to be perfect? Like, I mean, does everything has to be perfect when you're on a show, or?
I mean, I don't believe so. I think that's the great thing about live video is it's unscripted, and it shouldn't be so. It shouldn't be so perfect. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest, as a brand or a content creator to just go on and wing it. Like, give it a little bit of forethought, But I don't think it has to be so polished. It's not like you're going to stand in front of the mirror and rehearse your speech for 100 times before you go live, like you would if you're going to go on stage and presenting. But I definitely think you don't have to worry about being perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I think it also again kind of builds on the authenticity piece, right? And kind of makes people a little more real to the audience. I've heard babies crying in the background, especially in the environment we're in now, right? With COVID and everybody working at home and kind of being put into situations where they're trying to find space in their house to work. And so, you're going to have babies crying in the background, dogs barking, the folks coming around to pick up trash in front of your house when you go live. So, but I've had guests in a conference room before with, they had the motion sensor lights and the lights cut out on them. So they're going like this during the live stream. So it just is, it makes people, I think, the audience more able to relate,
And so there's some tricks though to consider. So I'll post a picture to Twitter here in a little bit, C-Trap on Twitter, how my setup is. But so you guys can't see this. I'm standing up right in front of my desk. And so I got the iPad in front of me. I got the two monitors in front of me so I can see what people are saying, et cetera, et cetera. And the door, let's see if I can point the right way. The door is right there. Not that door, but just off screen. So when one of my daughters walks in, guess what? We don't see them. And if they're actually going to be on screen, it was deliberate because they can see that I'm live streaming. Do you know what I'm saying? My cats, they can't jump this. I don't think they can, at least. Maybe they can. So that's my trick. But you're correct. People don't care anymore, right, when stuff happens. Cats walk into a CNN shot. I saw that the other day. Babies walk in. It's not a big deal anymore, I suppose.
Exactly.
What other
I always
tip?
think about that CNN. I always think about that reporter where he's on live TV, and all of a sudden the door opens and the kids shuffle in behind him. and then the wife or nanny, someone kind of comes in and starts, and there were so many people that were like horrified. I'm like, that stuff happens all the time. I mean,
Right.
you can't prohibit that from happening when you're on live video. Like, you just have to roll with it. So
Exactly.
It's not a big deal anymore, but it was kind of funny. It was some NBA player, and they were doing the Zoom meeting, right, with the reporters, and the reporter was trying to ask a question, and her dog was barking in the background, and the player just went, "All I heard is woof woof." I don't know. I don't know what the question is. So, what other tips do we have? I mean, one thing that I always keep in mind is, I mean, I do like to shave at least when I'm going on a live stream, look a little bit more presentable. Today I have a polo on, but a lot of times, I mean, you can barely see what I'm wearing. I mean, like even a t-shirt, you can barely see. So even depending what it is, I suppose, but. Those are the main things. Guys, I do have, it should be here somewhere, I didn't use it today. I do have this powder. So you talk about being prepared. But sometimes when the sun comes in here, I got this powder that I put on. So I am prepared from that perspective. I don't know if that's truly necessary, but it is when you have a hairstyle like I do. What other tips do you have to get ready for a show or as people are trying to jump in?
I would say, one thing for me is obviously it is live video, and you want to be cognizant of the shot and make sure your lighting's okay. There's not a bright window behind you, kind of washing out your shot. But I would say, audio is so important. When you're testing everything out, obviously it's important to do some tech checks and try different things, but make sure that, the audio is taken care of first almost, I think, and I don't have one today, but, just if you have the capability with headphones and the built-in microphone to eliminate potential outside noise, that's so key, because inevitably in this atmosphere with so many people streaming and being home and, bandwidth being used, it is inevitable that you're going to probably experience drop frames in your video or things like that, or potential freezing here and there. But I always tell folks, as long as the audio is crystal clear, that's a big part of it. As long as people can hear clearly what you're saying, I think that's a big thing. And I know, like you said, you take these and turn them into a podcast. And so, again, if you've got the good audio, you can do more stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely think audio is a big key, for different things, especially for live video. I think it's a lot of times an afterthought for a lot of people, but audio is arguably just as important. To the point, if not more important, when you're talking about some of these things, because a lot of people can deal with, the glitchy video, but, if they can't hear you, the audio is garbled or, anything like that, they're going to tune out. The other thing I would say is, one thing we're all doing is we're wearing solid colors. I know it's not always possible, but I've worn, shirts that have a lot of pattern in them, and it looks like you're looking at one of those magic eye charts. If you remember those, where you look at them crosswise, and then an image would uncover itself to you. So I would say as much of that as you can do. If there's the ability to wear solid colors, that, especially if you're going to be on like an iPhone or an iPad camera or even like a webcam. Those cameras aren't able to be fine tuned enough to help out with those patterns. So just to allow your audience to remain focused on your message and the story or whatever you're telling, as opposed to getting too wrapped up in shirt being too loud.
Mm-hmm. The shirt being too loud. That's my job, to be too loud. So audio is interesting comment. Totally agree. And the other thing is, when you are the guest on a podcast and the host's audio sounds terrible, please say something. This is not, the fly on Michael Pence's head where nobody said anything. Seriously, just say something. Say, Christoph, your audio sounds terrible. Do you want to double check it? And you can just test it. Sometimes I do that, and I just see, hey, how is it recording? Is it maybe just on your end? How are you guys recording though? Are you using a mic or what's your audio setup?
If I'm recording audio, honestly, right now, most of the time I'm using my iPhone with the earbuds, and the built-in mic there. I do have a kind of a USB podcast microphone that I purchased off Amazon a while back. That sometimes I'll plug into my iPad and record that way. But I honestly I feel like recording with the iPhone and using the earbuds comes across just as good a quality as a lot of things.
I do have a microphone setup that I got. It's the Saramonic Blink 500. So it basically is it's made for mobile devices, iPhones, Androids, etc. Actually, here I can just disappear from frame real quick and pick one up because it's right here below me. But it's super small. It looks just like the Rode Wireless Go, but this is the Saramonic version. You can use this as a actual like a lav that you clip on your shirt, or you can plug in the lavalier microphone to it. It's a 2-channel setup, so if I'm doing an interview, if I'm out on the road or at a conference, provided those come back sometime, and I wanted to do an interview with somebody, it's really easy to mic them up as well as myself. So it's a pretty affordable solution for 2-channel mic, and it has really good audio quality.
So that's an interesting point, because that might be very useful when you're back actually near people and you are both recording on site, which I haven't seen a person, I don't know how long. I haven't shaken anybody's hand in who knows how long. But at some point maybe we'll see people again other than just on the split screen.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot though. I think especially when it comes to video production, I think there's been a lot of learnings though, right? I think people are starting to see just how, even if somebody's not in the same location, with Switcher every day, we're bringing in people using the remote chat feature, and we're getting across powerful messages, and getting in front of a larger audience by bringing in our partners and other government agencies. And I don't think it's something we would totally throw out the window once we're able to get back in person again. I sat in on a conversation with. It was kind of a Zoom conversation with Dr. Fauci and American University's president the other day, and he kind of brought up an interesting point that kind of I related to video production, in that he kind of gave the example, like, once COVID has passed and we're able to travel and see each other in person again, consider, like, if he's in DC and he has a meeting in Chicago, you gotta get up early for a flight, potential flight delays, take the flight, sleep in an uncomfortable hotel bed, wake up the next day, go to a meeting that may last an hour, come all the way back home, and potentially do that all again on the return flight. So, if you can do that meeting via Zoom, I think you'll pick that 100% of the time. So, I think it's going to be interesting as we get into the post-pandemic world. And I know this isn't necessarily the topic of conversation, but I think these kinds of live streams will be, a little more, a little more par for the course, and maybe kind of mixing in some of that more high-end on-site production with stuff like this.
It's very
we
interesting.
Definitely hope so.
Right. I tell you, it has been a lifesaver just to do more live streams, because I get to talk to people other than my kids and my wife. Love them, but we were together for 6 months at our house. So I do the same thing. I just have the headphones in, and then from there, obviously we're live right now, and then I take the video file. Sometimes I hack it up, put it on Instagram TV. 15-minute videos, actually 60-minute videos, can now go on there. So we won't get to 60 minutes. So I can use the whole thing on there. Relatively low effort, also relatively low numbers. But again, it's another channel, right, where people can find it. So I do that, and then I extract the audio and put the podcast together. I upload that through Anchor to 20 different channels. And then I sometimes write an article. Not always. Currently I got one podcast per day. And the reason is because I'm speaking we're networking with so many people here. I don't want them to wait until 8 months from now to hear their podcast. You know what I mean? Like this podcast will publish probably, I would think, in the next 7 to 10 days. But if you had to wait, we do a live stream now, and then the podcast publishes, now it's October, it publishes in February, you would be like, why, right? It's just weird when that happens.
I think that's what's interesting about leveraging, live video for podcast production, because, to your point, Christoph, a lot of the podcasts that are recorded, you record it, you batch record them, and then, 4, 5, 6 months later, it's actually published. With this, you sort of get, double duty, or double exposure, out of that one, that one production. You're doing a live interview, right now with the two of us. It's going out to all these channels. You're also going to, put it up on podcasting. And even if it was something that took 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it wouldn't necessarily be that big of a deal because, people are listening to it now. They're listening to it on the replay on all these social channels. And then boom, 6 months from now, it goes back up, on another platform. So I think I think that's one of the reasons that I feel like live video and podcasting, can be a perfect marriage, because it does give you a much greater, life cycle of that content that you're creating.
It is very true. And also the promotion is different, right? So we're all promoting the live stream now. And then probably in 7 to 10 days, we all promote the podcast. And then a couple of days later, we'll probably promote the article. And it doesn't feel like you have 18 different assets at once, which is kind of interesting because back in the newspaper world, guess what? That's not how it was done. All the assets of one thing were publishing together.
Right.
Yeah. And you're likely hitting, potentially different audience members at different times, so potentially kind of with all those pieces getting in front of a larger audience ultimately.
So after we do the live stream, what have you guys seen anything else that you've done that works well? So we already talked about the putting it on podcast channels, writing an article, Instagram TV. What else have we not discussed yet, or is that it?
I think just a couple other things that I like to use live video for, like we have now, we're almost at 45 minutes. So after this, you have 45 minutes of video that you can then clip and edit and share as, future social content or, Instagram posts, Twitter, tweets and stuff like that. Or, sometimes what I'll do throughout my streams is kind of just keep a log of time codes where there was a good quote. And then, we have folks that can turn that into a cool quote graphic that we can share at another time, maybe when we're promoting something else or doing just kind of an awareness post or something like that. So those are a couple other things that kind of first came to mind.
Yeah, and I think I saw you, Christoph, take a picture of your production, feed to post. It could be something as simple as that too, right? Where it's just an image representation of the of the interview that you've done. I've seen a lot of companies, and Switcher, we just did it. We took a picture of, every employee on Zoom. We're all waving, right? I mean, because we have, 30, 40 employees now. So getting us all in one location is impossible, but we can all be, on a video chat like that. So even taking a simple photo like that, if it was, everyone smiling or laughing or having a good time, and posting that, as an image to social channels. And, I'm glad that Jeff mentioned it, just being able to, take little snackable, video snippets from this to share. And, I've even taken it as far as for, in a sales role, if there is an opportunity, or, if I do an interview or a live stream or recording, I'll put that in an email and send it to, a prospective client that, that I know has had that question, or, is interested in seeing, something that Switcher has done. So, I think there's a lot of different ways you can repurpose that content. And, I think it's just all about repurposing it as much as possible.
And so I don't know what I'll walk you through my workflow quickly before we wrap it up here in a couple minutes. But so I live stream off my iPad. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I love mobile content creation. I know I got 2 screens set up here, but if I could do everything on mobile, I'm good to go. I'm happy to go. So I do it on the iPad. Then we export it over to the camera roll or whatever, and then if I don't have to edit it, I just use everything on the iPad, right? I push it into an extraction service to get the audio. I hack up the video just a little bit. I might pick a 20-second video for LinkedIn stories. I think that's worth trying currently. And my trick is, some of you perfectionists will probably shake your head at me when I tell you how I do it. But if I'm like, hey, you know what? I should pick a quote from Mark. Well, I'll pick a quote from Jeff. I will literally just scroll or whatever, right? And whenever you start opening your mouth, I'll see if that's a good quote. And if it is, I'll use it. So, Jeff, I'm glad you're so deliberate about it. Sometimes I don't even do that. I just say, hey, is that a good one? Not really. Doesn't fit into 20 seconds. So my point is, you can be deliberate if you want to. Please. I've done that too. I've written down time codes. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to watch the whole thing again to find 2 20-second quotes. Just follow one of those tricks and see if you can find one. Even if it's the second best, nobody will know.
Right.
So, fantastic. This was a great discussion, guys. Anything else we missed? Oh, you know what? I wanted to mention one thing. So when we record these, and people have to be kind of retrained a little bit, I send them a link from the Switcher app. So I'm the producer, host, director, executive, sponsor, anything else. I think I got all the titles. So I do all those things. And then my guests, they just click on the link and they can open it in any browser. There's no download. And I just think that's fantastic. Even though I'm 80% of people that come on the show, they ask me, oh, I have to download Switcher Studio. They're so trained, right, that they have to download Zoom or have to download GoToMeeting or whatever. And I said, no, you don't. They said, well, how do I open it? I'm like, just click on the link and it will open. And they're like, oh, do I have to download something? No. Unless you don't have Safari or Chrome or whatever. Guys, we did share your LinkedIn profiles. I hope that's okay. Any other place people can connect with you?
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, no, LinkedIn is probably perfect. Obviously we're using Switcher Studio, for this. So, you can also follow Switcher Studio at Switcher Studio on all the major platforms as well. And as Christoph just said, anyone that's interested in, in this solution, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. As I said earlier, I love having conversations. It's what drives me as an individual. So, be happy to set up some time with you.
Yeah, and same with me. LinkedIn is perfect, and I'll say too. As Christoph mentioned with the link, the simple URL, click a link to join a Switcher or a live stream has been just amazing, especially if you work, with government clients or in the government space. Sometimes it's so hard to get around, downloading external software. It's hard to find softwares that kind of comply or work well with their systems. And we've actually, been able to bring on, anybody with a Switcher Studio with their process with just the simple click of a URL. So it's been awesome. We've been Switcher Studio customers for quite some time, and it's been fun to see the program, the software evolve over time, especially in today's COVID and every telework environment. It's been great, and been a lot of fun speaking with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing your insights. Really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for listening. Until next time.